I was dead for 3 minutes. That's not a metaphor. No heartbeat, no breath, no way back. Until there was. If you only hear 1 minute of this story, let it be this one. I crossed a line I didn't even believe existed, and someone crossed it to find me. Pause 3 seconds. You don't have to believe any of this. If I were you, I probably wouldn't. But you're here for a reason. Maybe you're tired, maybe you're scared, or maybe your life looks perfect on paper and still feels like it's missing a page. Whatever brought you, don't click away. Give me your attention for a little while, and I'll give you the truth that brought me back. Pause 2 seconds. My name is Daniel. I'm 34. On the outside, I looked fine. Decent job, decent car, loud schedule. On the inside, I was a room with the lights off. I lived on coffee, notifications, and the next thing. There was always a next thing. I had a talent for outrunning myself. I used to say, I'm good, just busy, as if busyness was proof that I mattered. Pause 2 seconds. I grew up around faith, songs, prayers, the language of hope. Somewhere along the way, I traded it for the language of results. I didn't hate God, I just forgot Him. Or maybe I forced myself to. It's hard to rebel against someone you won't admit is there. So I laughed at miracles, filed them under stories people tell to sleep at night, and got back to the grind. Pause 2 seconds. Here's the part I didn't see coming. The body keeps score. The soul keeps score louder. I brushed off pressure in my chest as stress. I called my temper personality. I called my restlessness ambition. Everything had a label. Nothing had peace. Pause 2 seconds. I was good at apologizing with gifts instead of words. I was bad at listening without planning my reply. And I had this quiet habit of ghosting the people who loved me most. Not because they did anything wrong, but because love asks for presence and presence costs time. I was poor in the one currency I needed. Pause 2 seconds. The week everything broke, I slept about 4 hours a night. Work spun faster. My patience ran thinner. I ate standing up, prayed lying down, by which I mean I didn't pray at all. I answered messages like they were IV drips. And every morning I told myself, it's just a season. Seasons are supposed to change. Mine didn't. Pause 2 seconds. The night of the crash was ordinary until it wasn't. Rain like beads on glass. Headlights sliding past. A phone buzzing with a message that could have waited. A quick glance down. 1 second. 1. And then life split open. Pause 3 seconds. I want to tell you I hit the brakes in time. I didn't. I want to tell you the sound of metal wasn't like an animal screaming. It was. Then, silence. Not the kind you rest in. The kind that erases things. Pause 2 seconds. I waited for pain. It didn't come. I waited for fear. That didn't come either. What came was awareness, pure and borderless, like waking up inside a still ocean. It wasn't dark, but it wasn't light yet. It was the moment before a word is spoken, when you can feel the meaning arrive before the sound. Pause 2 seconds. I knew my name without hearing it. Then I did hear it. Not in the air, in me. Daniel. One word, and the storm inside me went quiet, like someone pressed a hand to the water and all the waves obeyed. Pause 2 seconds. Far ahead. How do I say this without ruining it with language? There was a light that felt alive. It pulsed like a heartbeat, breathed like lungs, welcomed like a home you didn't know you missed. With each step toward it, I felt weight sliding off. Old anger, old shame, the constellations of regret I had used to navigate my nights. If you're wondering whether it was a hallucination, I understand. All I can tell you is a lie doesn't set you free. This did. Pause 2 seconds. As the light grew, so did a presence inside it. Not a shape at first, a certainty. I didn't make a list of features. I received a person. Truth without cruelty. Power without arrogance. Holiness without distance. If you've ever been fully known and not pushed away, you've tasted one drop of what I met. Pause 2 seconds. I didn't need an introduction. I knew who he was, the way you know your own name. Jesus. I braced for judgment. I found mercy with a spine. I braced for a verdict. I found eyes that knew everything and still said, "Come closer." Pause 2 seconds. My life began to unfold, not like a prosecution, more like a diagnosis that heals as it names. Scenes flashed, ones I was proud of, ones I'd buried, how I loved when it was easy, how I retreated when it wasn't, how I confused attention with affection, applause with belonging. It wasn't accusation, it was clarity, and clarity was kindness. Pause 2 seconds. If you stop listening after this, carry this with you. The one who knows everything about you doesn't despise you. He is not surprised by your worst day or bored by your pain. He is not here to humiliate you. He's here to bring you home. Pause 2 seconds. He drew closer, not moving, just being. Light with weight, warmth with gravity. I felt a hand on my shoulder, real as breath, gentle as forgiveness. I didn't hear sentences, but I understood a sentence that is still burning in me. It's not your time. You still have something to do. Pause 3 seconds. Everything in me wanted to argue, "Let me stay." Everything in him answered without words, "Live what you've seen." The light swelled, white becoming whiter. And the next sound was a machine pulling me back like a rope thrown across a canyon. Pause 2 seconds. Fluorescent ceiling, people moving. My mother's voice cracking open on my name. Someone said, "He's back." Pain returned in colors. Gravity remembered me. Under it all, a river of peace ran cold and clear. I breathed like it was a new skill. Pause 2 seconds. They told me the numbers first. The time, the heartbeat gone, the heartbeat found. 3 minutes, a doctor said, like an address. 3 minutes to leave, learn, and return. You can live a whole lifetime in less. Pause 2 seconds. I didn't announce it. I couldn't. Who would I be trying to convince? Them or me? So I kept it close, like a pilot light inside the bones. At night, memory didn't play like a film. It arrived like a presence filling a room I'd avoided cleaning. I wasn't haunted. I was healed in slow motion. Pause 2 seconds. I started noticing the kind of things you only see when you stop sprinting. The way steam curls off coffee like it's practicing prayer. The way my daughter's laugh travels down a hallway and fixes me without asking permission. The way saying, "I was wrong," feels like opening a window in a stale room. The world didn't turn perfect. I just started waking up in it. Pause 2 seconds. That's when doubt put on a lab coat and tried to talk me out of grace. You hallucinated. The brain protects itself with stories. You're making this up to feel special. Maybe, maybe not. But doubt never held my mother when she thought I was gone. Doubt never called my name with a love that undid me. Doubt didn't put a hand of light on my shoulder. Pause 2 seconds. Still, I wrestled. Real faith doesn't mean never asking questions. It means refusing to settle for cheap answers. Whenever I whispered, "Was it real?" something aligned. A sentence I needed from a stranger. A door opening I didn't knock on. An impossible timing that felt less like luck and more like kindness arranging chairs in an empty room. Pause 2 seconds. You still have something to do. Those words didn't chase me like orders. They invited me like a path. What if purpose isn't a ladder to climb, but a table to set? What if being impressive is less important than being present? What if the miracle I was waiting for was the person in front of me? Pause 2 seconds. So I started small, the only honest way to start. I called people I'd ghosted and said the whole sentence. "I'm sorry, it was my fault." I left my phone in another room and watched the sky darken like a living painting. I gave money I wanted to keep. I gave time I swore I didn't have. I listened without loading the next thing I'd say. None of it made me a hero. It made me human. Pause 2 seconds. Maybe you're wondering what any of this has to do with you. Maybe you're thinking, "Good story, Daniel." But I didn't die. I just feel dead inside, hear me. You don't have to die to wake up. You don't need an accident to hear your name. Sometimes mercy looks like a door closing that you begged would stay open. Sometimes it sounds like a friend telling you a truth you don't want but desperately need. Sometimes it feels like running out of options and finally looking up. Pause 2 seconds. 2. If your chest is tight and your thoughts won't quiet, let this be your interruption. Breathe. You are not alone. If you need words and don't have them, borrow mine. Jesus, if you're real, call my name. Then don't hunt for thunder. Listen for a whisper. Pause 3 seconds. I'm not selling a formula. I'm telling a story that happened to me and keeps happening through me. People ask what changed after I came back. The bills still come. I still get tired. I still take wrong turns and have to circle the block. But the engine under everything is different. Fear is not driving anymore. Love is. Not soft, not vague. Love with edges. Love that tells the truth and then helps you live it. Pause 2 seconds. I'm not trying to impress God. I'm letting Him love me. From that love, I move. I forgive faster. I ask for forgiveness quicker. I pay full attention to the person in front of me like they're a miracle, because they are. And on days I forget, mercy reminds me. Pause 2 seconds. People want details. What did Jesus look like? I didn't memorize features. I received a presence. If I have to try, imagine being seen to the bottom and not being pushed away. Imagine truth without cruelty, power without arrogance, holiness without distance. That's what He was like. If counterfeits have hurt you, people who used His name to harm, please don't judge the ocean by a muddy puddle. Pause 3 seconds. And if you're waiting for a sign, consider this your sign. I was dead for 3 minutes. I came back with one sentence burning in me. It's not your time. You still have something to do. I believe the same is true for you. You are not an accident. You are not beyond repair. You are not alone. If you want me to explain the light, let me try from the beginning. Again, slowly. Because this part matters more than my accident, more than the hospital, more than numbers on a chart. This part is the doorway. Pause 3 seconds. Before the light appeared, there was a stillness that wasn't empty. It held me like water holds a swimmer, weightless, supported, honest. I could not pretend there. I could not perform. I could not negotiate. And I didn't want to. Pause 2 seconds. People think judgment is a courtroom with bright lights and a loud voice. What I found felt more like a clinic where the surgeon already knows the wound better than you do, and he's kind enough to cut only what is killing you. No theatrics, no humiliation, just mercy with a steady hand. Pause 2 seconds. From far off, the light pulsed, breathing without lungs, living without edges. It didn't force me closer, it invited me. For the first time in years, I wasn't hurrying, and yet I was moving. Drawn, not driven. There was no countdown, no pressure, no earn this. Just a pull stronger than fear. Pause 2 seconds. As I neared it, the strange happened. Memory became temperature. Scenes warmed me or chilled me depending on whether they carried love or the lack of it. The day I defended a kid in middle school felt like a hand on my back guiding me forward. The night I lied to a friend and called it protecting them chilled me like opening a freezer in a dark room. Truth had climate. I finally understood why the soul shivers when we betray it. Pause 2 seconds. You might ask, why didn't you run? Because the light did not accuse me. It told the truth for me, like someone who wants you well, and I felt more myself, not less, the closer I came. Pause 2 seconds. When the presence emerged, it wasn't a face first, it was recognition. I knew him the way you know you're awake. I didn't measure his height or hair. I received a person whose essence carried everything I'd been missing. Peace, belonging, authority without cruelty, purity without distance. Pause 2 seconds. I was braced for a list of failures. Instead, I felt the kind of safety that makes confession possible. I found myself admitting things without words, like a heart exhaling what it held too long. In that light, secrets had nowhere to stick. They slid off like dust under rain. Pause 2 seconds. If you want details of the life review, here is what I can give you without betraying anyone. I saw my father's face the day I told him I didn't need his advice. I watched the way his shoulders dropped after I left the room. I had always remembered the argument. I had never noticed the wound. In the light, I did. Pause 2 seconds. I saw a coworker I mocked behind his back because he was slow. I remember laughing, feeling clever. In the light, I saw the reason he moved slowly. He was caring for a sick mother at home, sleeping 3 hours a night. My cleverness turned to ashes in my mouth, and then, unbelievably, to forgiveness I did not deserve, and yet was offered anyway. Pause 2 seconds. I saw my daughter drawing a picture she wanted me to notice. I saw my eyes on my phone while she waited for mine. Time stamped the scene with a kind of tender sorrow, as if love itself grieved the seconds I gave away. But even in the grief, there was no condemnation. There was a gentle, "See this," and in seeing, I was changed. Pause 2 seconds. The review wasn't a montage designed to crush me. It was a medicine designed to heal me by telling the truth all the way down. And the one administering it was not bored, not irritated, not impatient. He was invested, as if my restoration was worth his time. Pause 2 seconds. A thought formed in me, not spoken with a tongue. Why are you so kind to me? And the answer rose like dawn. Because that is who I am. Pause 3 seconds. Another thought came, raw and childlike. Why did you let me see all the ways I failed? And the light let me understand this. Confession is not a courtroom, it's a doorway. Walk through and live. Pause 2 seconds. That's when he came nearer. Near did not mean closer in inches. Near meant nothing blocked him from me. No shame, no pretending, no armor. I felt the hand, light, warm, alive on my shoulder. The touch carried a message deeper than sound. You are not a problem to fix. You are a person to love back to life. Pause 2 seconds. Then came the sentence I have carried ever since. It's not your time. You still have something to do. It wasn't a command barked at a soldier. It was a sentence spoken to a son who had somewhere to be. Pause 2 seconds. I wanted to ask, what do you want me to do? But questions don't travel the same way there. Meaning arrives whole. And I understood this much. Live what you've seen. Tell what you know. Love who I send. Pause 2 seconds. I would love to tell you I nodded bravely. Truth. I wanted to stay. Not out of fear of pain in the world, but because the presence was home in a way nothing on earth had ever been. The kind of home where you stop bracing, where you stop explaining yourself to yourself, where you simply are, and being is praised, not performance. Pause 2 seconds. But love doesn't cage. Love frees and then sends. The light swelled to a brightness that didn't hurt. White became more white until there was nothing left to see, only to know. And then the noise of machines stitched me back into a body. Pause 2 seconds. Back in the room, time returned like a heavy coat on my shoulders. Weight, wires, breath that took work. My mother's hand tangled in mine as if she could anchor me by pure will. A nurse saying words I barely tracked. Above the human voices, a thinner, stronger thread. Peace, not a mood, a person. Pause 2 seconds. For days, I said nothing beyond the basics. How do you hand someone a sunrise with your mouth? How do you wrap a horizon and pass it across a bed? I held it quietly, not from fear of mockery, but from reverence. Some gifts are too large for small rooms of language. Pause 2 seconds. Nights were the clearest, not because I saw visions, but because the memory presence filled the room like weather. Sometimes I wept without knowing why. I think a part of me was thawing. Frozen places don't come back to life with noise. They need warmth and time. Pause 2 seconds. I replayed the sentence again and again. It's not your time. You still have something to do. At first I heard pressure. Later I heard invitation. Purpose stopped sounding like a staircase and started sounding like a table. Set it wherever you are. Feed whoever comes. Pause 2 seconds. Let me go back to the life review, because people always ask, did you feel guilty? In the light, guilt lost its power to punish and found its power to guide. Guilt became grief, and grief became honesty, and honesty became a road. I learned that shame freezes you in place, mercy gets you moving again. Pause 2 seconds. Another scene. A woman I dated who asked for gentleness and got my impatience instead. I watched her flinch when I raised my voice. I had forgotten that moment. Heaven had not. And yet the memory was not used as a weapon. It was used as a seed, planted deep with the clear instruction to grow into a different kind of man. Pause 2 seconds. I saw an old teacher who believed in me when I did not. She wrote notes in the margins of my work as if she was adding light to the paper. In the review, her kindness had weight, like gold. I realized heaven measures generosity with a scale we ignore on earth. Pause 2 seconds. This might sound strange, but time in that place felt more like music than math. Moments carried notes that harmonized or clashed depending on love. The symphony of a day could be beautiful with only a few instruments if love played first chair. And the loudest measures of my life, the ones that impressed crowds, often rang hollow. Pause 2 seconds. So when he said, "You still have something to do," I understood the assignment was less about scale and more about song. Less about how many would hear, more about how true the note would be. Pause 2 seconds. I need to tell you what Jesus felt like because this matters. It wasn't only tenderness. It was strength that could bear the universe without strain. It wasn't only holiness. It was holiness that came near. It wasn't only truth. It was truth with a face. Truth that could be touched and somehow touched back. Pause 2 seconds. When I say he loved me, I don't mean the polite modern version of love that smiles and shrugs. I mean the kind that reaches into the worst of you and doesn't flinch. The kind that frees you to admit the worst because it's already accounted for. The kind that doesn't ask you to perform repentance but invites you to receive it and then become it. Pause 2 seconds. If your experience with the name Jesus is tangled with hypocrisy or harm, I'm sorry. Counterfeits can bruise you so badly you despise the currency. But don't judge oceans by puddles after a storm. The real is larger than the lies told in its name. Pause 2 seconds. Back in the hospital, a doctor tried to prepare me for what people feel after near death. Disorientation, mood swings, a strange sadness. He wasn't wrong. I felt all of it. But under the sadness was a floor that did not crack. Peace, steady as bedrock. I could cry and not drown. I could ache and not despair. Pause 2 seconds. On the third night, when the ward went quiet and the hall lights dimmed, I whispered, barely. I remember. I wasn't reminding myself. I was answering the presence. And in that answering, I felt something like a nod. Not approval for surviving. Welcome for arriving. Back to purpose. Pause 2 seconds. Here's a confession. I used to think God wanted me to do big things. Now I think he wants me to be faithful with small ones until they aren't small anymore. That shift changed everything. How I spoke, how I worked, how I rested. Rest stopped being a guilty pleasure. It became obedience. Pause 2 seconds. When I finally told my mother part of the story, I didn't start with light or presence. I started with apology. For all the times I made her carry my silence. For all the ways I answered with sarcasm when she needed tenderness. As I spoke, the room felt brighter. Words can be lamps if you tell the truth with them. Pause 2 seconds. I called my father next. He didn't ask for theology. He asked if I wanted to come over and fix a dripping sink, so I did. We worked in quiet for a while. Then he said, "You seem different." I said, "I was loved back to life." He nodded like he understood more than I had said. Sometimes fathers hear what sons can't speak yet. Pause 2 seconds. People think purpose arrives as a career change, a spotlight, a platform. Sometimes it arrives as a chair pulled out for someone else, a meal cooked, a name remembered. A patience offered to the slow because once you were slower and someone waited. Pause 2 seconds. Let me risk another hard truth. Most of my sins weren't dramatic. They were daily. Impatience, distraction, withholding kindness because it felt inefficient. Heaven reviewed them not to crush me, but to free me from the smallness I mistook for normal. Pause 2 seconds. What about fear of death now? It didn't vanish. It transformed. I don't chase danger to prove a point. I respect the gift because I met the giver. There's a difference between being fearless and being faithful. I'm learning the second. Pause 2 seconds. At some point, I asked, why 3 minutes? The answer that settled in me wasn't a math lesson. It was this. Grace doesn't need long to do deep work. What took me years to break took him moments to begin mending. Pause 2 seconds. If you're listening to this and thinking you've run too far, stayed too long, burned too many bridges, I carried those same sentences like IDs in my wallet. They felt true because I repeated them. In the light, they lost authority. A different sentence replaced them. Come home. Pause 3 seconds. I used to see religion as a list of unsmiling rules. Now I see relationship as a lifelong returning. Returning when I get distracted. Returning when I get proud. Returning when I am afraid to return. Every return is met by the same presence and the same sentence. You still have something to do. Pause 2 seconds. What is that something? For me, it often looks like this. Show up. Tell the truth. Make room. Show up to the hard conversation and stay gentle. Tell the truth even when it costs you applause. Make room at your table for the person who can't repay you. Pause 2 seconds. A story. Months after the hospital, I ran into the coworker I had mocked. I asked him to coffee and told him the truth. He looked at me for a long time and said, I wondered if I was imagining that you were different. We both laughed, a little hurt and a little healed. We talk every week now. Pause 2 seconds. Another story. My daughter handed me a drawing and I knelt to her height. She said, Daddy, I made the sun big because it's happy you're here. I cried, not because of the compliment, but because a child's theology set my priorities. Be here. Presence is oxygen to love. Pause 2 seconds. If all you take from this is a better set of feelings, I've failed. This isn't about vibes. It's about truth that rearranges a person. The presence I met is not a mood. He is Lord. That word used to scare me. Now it rescues me from pretending I'm in charge. Pause 2 seconds. When I pray now, I don't try to impress heaven with adjectives. I speak simply, thank you, help me, I'm listening. And when I don't have words, I sit in the quiet and let the quiet do its work. Stillness is not empty if he's in it. Pause 2 seconds. I promised I'd tell you more about what he was like. He was unhurried without being slow. He was gentle without being soft. He was joyful without being trivial. Being near him felt like standing in clarity, the way colors pop after rain. Pause 2 seconds. Some of you want a map of the after, timelines and layouts. I don't have them. I have a name, a presence, and a commission. It's not your time. You still have something to do that, and a love that refuses to let me shrink back to the size of my old life. Pause 2 seconds. So if you're waiting for perfection before you come home, you'll wait forever. Come home imperfect. Come home mid-sentence. Come home with questions. He isn't threatened by the mess. He's moved by the reach. Pause 2 seconds. I was dead for 3 minutes, but I had been sleepwalking for years. Waking up hurt at first, then it healed. It keeps healing. Pause 2 seconds. And if you're listening thinking, this is beautiful, but it's not for me, hear the gentlest contradiction I can offer. Grace is not an aesthetic. Grace is an arrival. It arrived for me. It can arrive for you. Pause 3 seconds. I will keep telling the rest. How the early days taught me to walk again inside my own life. How purpose grew feet and hands. How forgiveness didn't erase consequences but turned them into classrooms. How peace learned my address and keeps knocking. But for now, hold this. The light is not a myth. The presence is not a metaphor. And the sentence still stands. Over me and maybe over you. It's not your time. You still have something to do. If you stayed this far, thank you. Staying matters. It's how stories finish and how people heal. Pause 2 seconds. I want to end where real life actually happens. In the ordinary hours where faith either breathes or suffocates. Pause 2 seconds. Not long ago, I had a day that felt like my old life had come back to audition for the lead role. Deadlines stacked up. Traffic snarled. A stranger cut me off, and the heat rose in my chest like a match to dry leaves. The old me would have sprinted, snapped, justified it with a speech about pressure. But that day I remembered the light. I remembered the hand. I remembered the sentence. It's not your time. You still have something to do. So I pulled over. I turned the engine off. I put my forehead on the steering wheel and said out loud, Jesus, help. 2 words, they were enough. Pause 3 seconds. I called the person I was about to disappoint with another "I'm running late" text and told the truth instead. I overloaded my day. I'm sorry, I value you. I'll be there, and I won't make you pay for my rush. They laughed softly and said, I just needed to hear your voice. It's wild how often love wants presence more than performance. Pause 2 seconds. I keep learning that coming home is not a one-time victory. It's a rhythm. I drift. I return. I harden. I repent. I forget. I remember. And every return is met by the same presence I met in the light. Not scolding, welcoming. Pause 2 seconds. A few weeks after the hospital, I met someone from my past who knew a worse version of me. I had been sharp with them. Mean, really, at a moment when they were fragile. We stood in a grocery aisle between bread and cereal, and I felt the nudge. Now. So I said, I was cruel to you. You didn't deserve it. Will you forgive me? They blinked, then said, I've been waiting to hear that. We didn't hug. We didn't cry. We just both breathed easier. Sometimes heaven's work sounds like air finally moving through a room. Pause 2 seconds. I used to think testimony meant a speech. Now I think it means a life that refuses to lie. A life that tells the truth in calendars and bank statements, and how we answer when we're tired. Pause 2 seconds. You asked earlier what Jesus was like. Let me answer one last time with different words. He was near enough that my pretending fell off without a fight. Near enough that I could grieve what I'd done and still feel held. Near enough that the worst parts of me finally believed they weren't stronger than love. Pause 2 seconds. I don't have maps of the after. I have scars and peace and a sentence that keeps me moving. Live what you've seen. Tell what you know. Love who I send. So I'm telling you what I know. Pause 2 seconds. You are not a statistic. You are not your last mistake. You are not the sum of what people couldn't see in you. If you feel like your life is a house with all the lights off, I have been there. The switch still works. Pause 2 seconds. If you need words and don't have them, borrow mine. One last time. Jesus, if you're real, call my name. Then breathe. Listen for the whisper. Watch for the door that wasn't there and now is. Pay attention to the person you suddenly care about more than yourself. That's how home begins. Pause 3 seconds. Before I go, let me give you 3 small, stubborn practices that kept me from drifting back to the numbness. Gratitude out loud. Every morning, 3 things. Spoken, not scrolled. Thank you for da-za-dad. It feels simple until the silence fills with electricity. Pause 2 seconds. Apologies with full stops. I was wrong. I'm sorry, no but. No weather report. The shortest bridge over shame is humility. Pause 2 seconds. Presence over performance. If someone I love is in the room, my phone is not. Attention is love spelled in hours. Pause 2 seconds. These won't make headlines. They'll make homes. And homes change cities slower than storms, but deeper. Pause 2 seconds. Do I miss the light? Yes, the ache is good. But I've learned to trust the light within me as much as the light I saw, not because I'm strong, but because He is faithful. Pause 2 seconds. Some nights I still pray like this. I wandered. I'm listening. I'm here. Short prayers can carry long distances. Pause 2 seconds. If your story is tangled with church hurt, please hear me. I'm sorry. People can bruise you in His name and make you hate the sound of it. Don't let counterfeits steal your chance to cash the real. Find humble people. Tell the truth. Keep what heals. Spit out what harms. Pause 2 seconds. As for legacy, I used to think it was what people said when you were gone. Now I think legacy is how people breathe when you leave the room. Lighter? Heavier? I want lighter. Pause 2 seconds. One last picture before the credits roll. My daughter drew another son, bigger this time, with a little figure holding hands with a taller one. She said, "That's you in the light." I said, "Does the light have a name?" She nodded like I was slow. Jesus. I laughed and cried at the same time, because sometimes the truest theology arrives in crayon. Pause 3 seconds. So here is my blessing for you, from a man who was dead for 3 minutes and woke up with a calling. May the light that found me find you. May the presence that held me hold you. May the voice that called my name call yours. Clearer than fear, kinder than shame, stronger than the lie that says you're too far gone. Pause 3 seconds. If you're waiting for a sign, take this as your sign. If you're waiting for permission, here it is. Come home. If you're waiting for perfect, you'll wait forever. Bring what you have. He knows the rest. Pause 2 seconds. This is my story. I didn't earn it, I received it, and I'm giving it away in case it helps you remember your own. Pause 2 seconds. You are not an accident. You are not beyond repair. You are not alone. Pause 2 seconds. I was dead for 3 minutes. It was not my time. I still had something to do. So do you. Pause 3 seconds. This is my second chance. My turning home. My close call. Take yours.